So I made another stupid mistake. I thought these pipes were air conditioning. They're not. They're heater matrix pipes, and I've cut one because I was going to cut the pipe and use the pipe route as a cable route. So I have to repair this pipe. There's a couple of ways of repairing it. I'm going to use some self-amalgamating tape and a Jubilee clip to do it temporarily, but ultimately I'll have to cut through it, maybe cut a small section out, then slide on a piece of rubber tube and then clamp it up. I've seen that done actually before. So, but just a mistake I could have done without, quite honestly. In terms of finding a route for my sensor cables, so these are the ones from the oil pressure and water temperature. Rob put me onto these, 4040 Rob, good for him. So I've taken the top off the ECU box, and if you look at the back, there's a channel, this thing here, and it goes down into the passenger compartment. So I'm going to bring the wires through this side, so it's as far away from the engine as possible. Although it's PTFE, I'm going to bring them through here and then just put them down there, and I'll have to somehow protect this edge. I have to think about how I can take the sharpness off this edge here so it doesn't cut through the cable. But that will get me into the footwell of the passenger compartment, and then I can route it up into the centre of the dash for the gauges. This is a radio blanking plate that I bought from Anthony Seddon. What I've done is I've marked up where I want various things to go on a piece of paper, and then taped it onto the flat plate. So I'm just going to drill some pilot holes in 4 places. So the idea is that I will have 2 gauges in the centre. I'll have the push button wherever it is. This one. Let's move that out of the way. Push button for the engine cutout on one side, and the fire extinguisher pull, which I've temporarily lost, but here's another one. So this thing, that will go on this side. I wanted to keep the pull near the edge because obviously if I ever do have to pull it, I want it to be the strongest point, and I thought if I put it in the middle, it's not going to be that strong. So if I keep it on the edge, then that should be plenty strong enough. Hopefully I'll never have to pull it, but you know, always want to cover my bases. That was a bit nerve-wracking. So I drilled the pilot holes, as you can see, and then I used this thing. I don't think it's strictly a trepanning tool, is it? It's like just a circular cutter. And it works okay, except for the neck size up is, well, it's 53 mil, I think it is, and the hole needs to be about 50.5, and this one is 50, and of course, lo and behold, it's too tight. It won't go in, but that's okay. I can file round it and just relieve it a bit. I'd rather do that, obviously, than have it slopping around and then I have to worry about that. So that should work okay. It's obviously cut through some of the strengthening pieces, but it's still pretty rigid. And because there's no force on these bits where the gauges go, then it should be fine. So I successfully made up all the panel, but it won't go in. And the reason is because the tops of the gauges are fouling with these ribs here, and maybe even if I relieve those ribs, I may have to take a bit out of this plastic moulding behind. Anyway, that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to take away that one and that one, I think it is. It's almost there, but it won't quite go, and it rocks around on the tops of the, yeah, it just won't go. You can see the screw holes at the bottom are almost there, but it's just not quite right. It's a lot closer now. I can actually get it in to position, but it's still not quite right. I can feel there's pressure on these centre gauges, and it's actually not the gauge now. It's on the outside of the gauge. There's this plastic ring that holds it in place, and I think it's that's now fouling. So I'm going to have to find a way to relieve a bit of the pressure off of that. So I think I'm going to have to grind into this. Oh, this is such a pain. This really is a pain. But I don't think there's a way around it. Yeah, I'll just have to remove more plastic. So it seemed as though the problem was this third rib that I didn't remove. I've ground that away now, and actually it fits fine. There you go. It's in there. Just need to put the 2 screws in. I think these tab things, they go underneath the that metal capping thing that goes across. Well, in my case, it's got this metal effect or aluminium effect capping. So that will go behind there. I can't remember what these screw holes are for. I guess they might be to hold that capping on. Anyway, I think it just snapped on, but hey, I don't know. I have a feeling I'm going to end up with a big box of screws and bolts at the end of this that don't have a home. But anyway, I think that looks okay. Does the trick. I've put of course, it's dirty in there. I've put the basic wiring in, but I have to pick up a live for the gauges and the backlight off the light. So my next job is to remove the fuse for the fuel pump and the ignition, connect the battery back up, and then start to hunt out the correct wiring, you know, the connections that I need, which is difficult when I can't actually apply power and then check voltages. So I might be able to get it off the there's a plug here for the radio. I may be able to pick it up on that actually. I'm hoping I can, because that will be very useful. Okay, so this is a quick mock-up of how it will look. I haven't really pushed this in properly, and there's a bezel thing to go around the bottom of this, but it looks quite neat. The gauges, I think this one's about 1 mil higher than this one, but it's as good as I'm going to get it. I'm sure you've noticed that I made a bit of a mistake here. I put the gauges on the centre line of the plate, but there's a bit of an overhang at the top, so in fact they appear to be too high. So I think I put them at 35 mil from the top, and I'd add another 2 or 3 mil onto that actually if I was doing it again. Everything's centred, but it's all centred just that little bit too high. I've got to get the sticker in this just here to indicate that that's my cutout, and I guess I'll have to have an extinguisher sticker somewhere over here, so that's got to be put on yet, but I'm going to leave that until I've finished everything and sort of fitted it all. So that has taken me to route the cables from the sensor, from the 2 sensors, and to drill the gauges and everything. That's taken me about 5 hours. I'm sure you could do it quicker, but I found that pretty difficult. That's loose because it's not screwed in, but yeah, yeah, a bit of a pain. I'm pleased with the way it's worked out under the bonnet. So you can see I've got the purple wire from the oil sensor and then the orange wire from the water temperature. And what I did was I used self-amalgam tape, that stuff that sticks to itself, wrapped it a couple of times in that, and then put a cable tie on. And I've done that in a couple of positions and then brought it into the box. I said that I was going to bring it in at the back of the box, but what I found was there was a tiny little gap between the rubber bungs on this end, and I was able to bring it through there and actually fill the gap, so that's probably good. Nothing very special underneath. I've got to route a couple more cables because the cutout system that I've got cuts the ECU power as well, so I need to bring a cable into this box and then take it back out again for the ECU. But that's okay. That'll come up through the channel that goes down into the footwell, which is about here in the box, and it goes straight down and into the footwell. So other than my faux pas with the coolant pipe, everything's gone fairly well today.